War-torn Phoenix, Arizona. You're probably not noticing what I'm noticing because I'm a super good, awesome person and you must be totally awful, but something here needs our help.
My skin is not teeth.
Unless you're super keen of eye, you might miss it. It's right there. Yep. Oh, right, yeah. That's the one. But being honest, I probably wouldn't have found this guy either if my dog didn't come into the house with a mouthful of elf foot.
What do you have? That's a war crime.
Let's pick up this little war hero and bring him back to my medical station. Also, if you're ever wondering, you can use 2 chopsticks and a paper towel as a stretcher in a pinch. So that's a good tip. Well, he's here, and a little dirtier than expected. I think I'm gonna have to use the washing machine method to get him up to tip-top shape. Unfortunately, the budget doesn't allow for a washing machine, so I'm gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. You do not need to pee. You do not need to pee. You do not need to pee. Some think this method is a little archaic and pretty cruel, but I'm pretty sure elves are kinda close to crabs, so they might not feel pain. Well, there's not really anything around it. This part does seem pretty cool. So, I'll do it quick. Ah, look at how fresh he looks. Good as new. Now, it's just time to dry him off a little bit. Again, this part probably isn't cruel. We're unsure if he feels pain. Then we finish off the cleaning by using some off-brand Clorox wipes to kill 98% of the germs. It's not the same as the 99 you get from the name brand, but, you know, the budget cuts. But now we have a whole new issue. What you're seeing here is me noticing that this elf is a little further gone than I'd expected. See, when an elf gets sick, the first thing to really go is their bones. They tend to disintegrate because of the loss of magic. Thankfully, God invented grave robbing. After a very mild mishap at the local cemetery, I was able to find a set of bones that should work okay. Goblin bones tend to be a little bit longer and larger than elf bones, but again, elf bones disintegrate, so we gotta do what we gotta do. Now, putting these guys next to each other, you can kind of see where the issue comes into play. I was hoping we'd be able to salvage more, but it looks like he's gonna need new arms and legs. Now, I'm only going to say this one more time just to ease your guys' thoughts. This guy most likely probably doesn't feel any of this pain. So now, let's make some alterations on the elf's remaining body parts. Starting by trimming his torso down a little bit. It may hurt his ego, but if he didn't want to be shorter, he shouldn't have joined the war. Now, let's empty out all of this fiberglass stuffing. With his internals out of the way, it's as good a time as any to cut some armholes. Now, you may have noticed that I cut the arms a little lopsided, but, you know, it's better than having no arms, so don't criticize me. Now, if you have a fear of heads getting cut in half, you might want to close your eyes for the next minute. For no particular reason. It's not an exact science, but then again, I wouldn't know. My credentials to do this are forged. Let's do a little test fit here. Sticking the skeletal neck through the neck hole gives us a good idea if the skeleton is really gonna fit. And thankfully it does. This is the perfect time to stick the head in place. And then using a rubber band, we can keep the face flap from opening up again, making a perfect spot to glue. As a little oopsie-doopsie on my part, the rubber band wasn't actually strong enough to hold the face closed, so I had to sit here like this for like 20 minutes. Now that glue is dry, though, he's starting to look pretty damn handsome. But he doesn't have any skin on his arms and legs yet, so, let's cover up those nerve endings. Another neat little tip, you can use an old t-shirt to make skin for elves. Pretty much the same thing. Now with the arms officially kind of measured and cut to shape, it's time to sew it together. Ignore the editing here. I don't know how to sew and I'm trying to hide that. But regardless, I'm actually pretty proud of how it turned out.
Practically invisible. Can't even... Looks like it was made that way.
Now, I'm gonna try and attach the new arm casing to the body. Not really a plan here, just kinda going with the flow. Just like the doctor who did my circumcision said, this is good enough.
Oh, yes.
But, this is a pretty cool time to try a new editing trick. Look, he's got 2 arms now! It kinda worked.
That's gonna be fucking great. If it's bad, don't say anything. I'm sensitive.
Using my finger here, I can generally shape out what the legs are gonna look like. And then, just like the arms, it's time for some fabric. Now, that thing I just did with my finger, we're gonna do that with a marker now. Not even sure why I did it with my finger in the first place. Then finally, it's time to chop up that leg fabric. Again, I'm not really going for perfect, I'm just going for vaguely leg-shaped. Now we're back to the very worst part of this project. It's gonna have to be the sewing. If we're thinking in the very least, this part might be a little interesting to watch. But oh my god, I hate sewing. If you enjoy sewing, that's fine. You're just probably not gonna get invited to my birthday party.
Good enough. Those are pants. Alright. This is gonna work.
Although I do seem pretty confident here, that's mostly just a ruse. Again, I'm pretty unsure about what I'm doing. I got my forged certifications for this on Temu. At this point, it would be ideal to sew the pants to the shirt. But I'd rather die in a house fire, so I'm just gonna use some super glue. Now, facing him forward and reattaching his feet, you can kind of probably see what I'm going for here. If you can't, just don't say anything about it. You may have noticed that the original elf had these nice red designs on his leg, and that was kind of sewn in, which I clearly don't want to do, so I'm going to use a Sharpie. Now just this like 20 more times, and it's practically covered. I may lose you guys here, but for the shoes and the gloves, I'm going to be using a black nitrile glove. Each of these sacrifice fingertips are really going to complete the look. Now, putting these on ended up being a little more difficult than I would have liked, but I got it to work in the end, so sue me. You guys ready for this? I don't want to be too hasty, but this looks like a changed man. He's getting there, but he's still missing his eyes. So let's recycle that stretcher from earlier into a nice paint palette. Now, I thought the sewing was hard because it was tedious, but this part really requires the skilled, steady hands of a surgeon. Thankfully, I've seen all of Grey's Anatomy. The color matching would have been pretty hard, but I actually don't care, so it's not matched even a little bit. Judge me, I work for free.
Yeah, that's fucking great.
Before I can bandage him up and send him on his way, let's take a nice good look at the finished product.
Alright, let's tone down the funk. Too much of that and you'll be back in the hospital.
It is important to remember, though, that elves are meant to be free. So let's bring this guy back up to the wild. Everyone say goodbye, elf.
Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Ah!